Okay, so this was when I used to live in a different state. I got a job working as a cocktail server at a strip club, which was a very good choice for me at that point in time because the club was very fun, had kind of a metal punk vibe, and was also very popular with the lesbians. Since I was going through the process of coming out as bisexual, and I was in a very radical fuck corporate society, fuck men, let's take their money phase. I'm not one of those people who thinks stripping is super empowering, but it was a good fit at the time. Also, while I was there after about 6 weeks, I would often have terrible, suffocating feelings, almost about to have panic attacks and terrible migraines while working in the club. I would often feel panicked and scared, but I just chalked it up to the stress of the job and a strange environment. I never had these feelings anywhere else but here. So the club was really kind of messy. Not dirty, but just filled with things. Lots of tables in the bar, lots of speakers, and extra crap in the back storage room behind the stage, and a tiny crowded dressing room for the dancers. Behind the stage, there was a kind of storage room area that had several dressers and mirrors put in, as well as an old comfy couch in case the dancers wanted to use it as an extra dressing room or place to nap. But no one ever actually used it. This room gave me the worst, suffocating, panic-inducing vibes of all, and I had no explanation for it. So I would often work until 4 a.m. or later, since I didn't have a car and public transportation wasn't running, and I was kind of in a sketchy neighborhood. I would wait until one of the dancers was done for the night, and she would drop me off at home. This was often after my own shift ended. When I first started working, I would spend that extra time trying to do side work, clean and straighten up like a good employee. But after a while, I would often just hang out in the back room studying, until when I started completely freaking out in the back room. And when I would leave to go sit at the bar or in the dancer's dressing room, the feeling would mostly go away. So when this stuff started getting worse, I have to add that it was around Halloween and I was watching a lot of scary movies. And I was also smoking a ton of weed. So both of those things might have had some effect on my psyche. But also, these feelings never happened anywhere else around this time, only here. I started to kind of bring it up with the dancer that drove me home. She said the back room also creeped her out, but didn't go into any detail. So one night, after closing, I was carrying a box of extra glasses to the back room, and I heard the most terrifying sound of my life. It was like a horror film, like a long screech, almost like electric music, just one tone. Almost like a chainsaw that reverberated around the entire floor and walls. I dropped the box and screamed and ran out of that room. The bartender said he heard the noise as well, but not as loud as me and without the vibrating floor walls, and started checking the sound system, telling me that the music equipment had probably just started to fuck up. This happened at least 5 more times while I worked there. Sometimes other people heard it, sometimes just me, always when I was walking into the back room. Twice, when I walked into the back room, the lights would flicker off and would be replaced with a red glow, like someone had put a red light bulb in. Both times that happened, I ran out, got the bartender, and they would check and the lights would be totally dead, not working. After a while, I was constantly shaking, and I didn't want to tell him every time something happened since I was afraid he would think I was crazy. After the noise and red lights, I would never go back to the back room, even when I should have been cleaning it. One time I was standing in the hall between the dancer's room and the back room, half-heartedly sweeping the floor and staring into the back room. I was starting to feel the panic in my chest, and I kept telling myself to look away and to look into the dressing room, but I couldn't stop staring at it, like I was transfixed. And in the corner of my eye, I saw a reflection in the mirror, set up, leaning against the dresser in the back room. I forced my head to look, and I saw in the mirror 2 legs in black ripped tights, floating about a foot from the floor, swaying back and forth. I threw the broom, screamed as loud as I could, and ran to the bar. I was convinced one of the dancers had hung herself in that room. I could see it so clearly in my mind. Of course, when he went back there was nothing there. One of the dancers was convinced that the back room was haunted and I was seeing a ghost. She thought maybe someone had killed herself back there. She wanted to get me and some of her friends to do a Ouija board at the bar and have the ghost communicate. But I was too terrified. Around all of this happening, I felt as though I was losing my mind. I was having panic attacks, migraines, and all around feeling horrible. It may have just been a combination of everything in my life. Sleeping weird hours, grad school, dealing with my own personal shit. But I've always been a high-stress person who's worked a lot of more stressful jobs. Since then, I have never experienced anything like this ever in my life. About a week after I saw those legs in the mirror, I was working one more shift for taking a week off to do some research for grad school and go on a long weekend trip with my girlfriend. This was near Halloween, so the club had gone all out and had goofy decorations and costumes. I usually dressed in all black anyway, and I tried not to wear anything too sexy or distracting, so customers would mostly leave me alone and concentrate on the dancers. So this day, I just wore a black skirt and a t-shirt, but it had my face painted sugar skull. It was mostly white with jewels, and it was fucking rad. Since I was so freaked out all the time at the club, I started asking if I could leave around midnight and would catch the last bus. But this night, my friends were meeting me to drink at the club after my shift. I was near the end of my shift and was taking off my apron in the dressing room and leaned over the dancer's mirror to check my makeup. And that is the last thing I remember. Until I was being shooken awake by one of the bouncers with a friend and my girlfriend by my side. I was in the haunted back room laying on the couch, and my face paint was completely smeared all over my face. They said I had disappeared for about 45 minutes until they went looking for me. They found me asleep and had been trying to shake me awake for almost 2 minutes. I was completely hysterical. I had no idea what had happened. My clothes weren't disturbed, my tip money was still in my apron, and there's almost no way anyone could have been back there all night. I was almost afraid that I had been drugged, but right after this event, I went right to the doctor and got checked out and had them give me an MRI since I was afraid that I had a brain tumor or something that was making me lose my mind. They suggested I speak to a psychologist. After that night, I had to quit my job and never went back. Besides those horrible events, I loved working there, and I made lots of friends. But I absolutely lost my mind. And once I left, I never felt any of those feelings or saw anything like that ever again. A haunted strip club? Did you ever think? I mean, I assume that a strip club could indeed be haunted. Lots of risque things happen, you know? So I hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. It would mean a lot to me. And remember, there's always someone or something watching you.